Well, I want to apologize to you folks for being absent for so long, but you know it hasn't been on purpose. And when I say what I'm going to say right now, it sounds like I'm just looking for words and trying to apologize for not having any. I've got plenty. I'm saturated with appreciation for what I'm looking at tonight. And there's so many things since we've been singing these songs that have crossed my mind when I consider, as we started to sing, and we sang, "I've Caught a Vision," and then we sang Days of Preparation with the offering being taken, and I thought, if we hadn't caught a vision, what in the world are we doing here preparing for something? What are we preparing for? And I have to think of the 32 years that I have been with you, with Brother Jolly, and to think that, well, as I started in talking, to tell you that I've had such a road blockage in my mind here on so many things that I have to be appreciative of, that I derived under the ministry of Brother Jolly all these years. 7 years in school here in St. Louis, and 25 years out in the field, and to come here under the conditions that I'm here under and considering. I think best of all, I'd like to reach into my pocket right now and remind myself of a song that we sang the other night in Dawson Springs. "Show me, dear Lord, where you brought me from and where I might have been." This is a time when, considering Brother Jolly, what he's going through, I have to reminisce a bit to consider where I could have been if 32 years ago, on a cold November night, having a few weeks prior to that been introduced to a little preacher down in Jacksonville, Florida, by the name of Brother Dykes, who led me to the campground at Shepherdsville in 1953 in September. That's where I received my revelation of the leadership of the body, after having searched all over America, so to speak, particularly in Florida, looking for something that would satisfy my soul. And I'll remember, I'm going to try to condense this just as much as I possibly can, because it's necessary that I do this to arrive where I think my destination is as far as being asked to speak here tonight. When I think where I could have been if, after I received my revelation, went back to Florida and was groping about, trying to think, I've just heard something, I've seen something, I've felt something, I have a vision, I have a revelation, I found what my soul has been craving for years, and I didn't know what I was craving for. What'll I do? And it just happened that I went to a fellowship meeting through this Brother Dykes that took me over into Fort Worth, Florida. And on the way back from the fellowship meeting, I was going to go on back to Jacksonville, Florida, to work with this man in his assembly. But something prompted me, or it must have been the Lord, I guess, because the man who was driving the car, he was going to drop me off somewhere near Memphis, Tennessee. And I was going to hitchhike the rest of the way. I had come in somebody else's car. But just as I was about to ask him to let me off, he said, "Say, why don't you go on to Eldorado with us? We're going on through to Eldorado. Why don't you do that?" And so I just felt the Spirit of God right then when he said that. I said, I'd like to do that. I'd really like to do that. So they headed for Eldorado. And that particular night, there I am out in the congregation listening to Brother Jolly in the pulpit. And when the Spirit of the Lord came in, I felt the vibrations within my soul here that just encouraged me to, I knew I was in the right place. I had already discovered I was in Shepherdsville under the administration that I was introduced to at that particular time. And when the Spirit of the Lord came in, I had one of the most outstanding blessings in Eldorado, raising my hands and felt it all over me, of course. And right after the service, I went up to the platform and I asked Brother Jolly. I couldn't wait. I had to talk to him. I had to ask him a question. That's why I marked this song down, where I might have been if something hadn't happened. Where would I have been if, when I asked Brother Jolly, I said, Brother Jolly, I just come from the campground, just come from Fort Worth, and I said, I knew somebody had told me. You see, I testified in the campground, I remember. Way back there, I was on fire for God because of what I had discovered. And so I knew that something had to be done. I had to make a change of my location. I didn't know what to do or how to do it, but I knew that the man that I had, it had been revealed to me, the authority that I felt coming from him, from his very presence, this tone of his voice, the words that he spoke with authority. So I came to the platform, I said, Brother Jolly, I said, I'm Brother Garrettson. Oh, yes. And he recognized me because somebody had reported me to him. And I said, what could I do? I need advice. I need somebody to tell me what to do. Well, he said, what's your status right now? I said, well, I'm down in Jacksonville, Florida. And I said, my car's down there. And I said, I'm selling Bibles to make a living. And I said, I'm with Brother Dykes down there. Now, what should I do, Brother Jolly? He said, without any hesitation at all, he said, why don't you go back and get your car and come on up to St. Louis and help me work in St. Louis? I thank my God in heaven, where would I have been if I had stayed down there? And bless that man's heart, he was good to me, but he left the body years ago. At the same time, I'm hoping and praying that regardless, well, I don't want to say what I might have done or what I might not have done, but I just was thinking when I was singing that song, I've got to consider where might I have been if Brother Jolly hadn't extended the invitation to come up here. And then the delightful 7 years that I had with you people here in this assembly, and my activities here. That's why I'm just tied up here for a few moments. I'm not tied up now. I'm feeling much better. But at the moment here, I was a little ashamed of myself not having been here to the 33rd anniversary. I wanted to be here, but I just couldn't help it. It just, something came up that just stopped it. And because of the fact that I was right here from the planting of the church at 1102 Park, I was there that night. You've heard that testimony many, many, many times. I know that you have. But the point that I'm particularly concerned about right now is the fact that of what Brother Jolly has done for me, has done for my soul, down through these many years, particularly when the 7 years that I had here, first 1102 Park and then 500 North Kings Highway and then here, of course. And the development, that is the learning that I had, the teaching that I had those 7 years. The preparation, that was that last song we sang, preparation days. And so in preparing and coming through, you've heard me say many times that I appreciated the new dispensation so much because I saw just enough of the old dispensation, the crude ways of doing things, to really appreciate the new dispensation. That is the brush up, the improve and restore and refine and perfect. Those words, I guess, are indelibly impressed in all of our minds by now. And so naturally I saw enough of the wild, untrained, untutored, but a different message than anywhere else that I had ever had access to. I'd been a formal church member and all that. Didn't mean a single thing. But the point that I'm trying to establish is this. Where are we now? Where am I now? Where is this ministry now? Where are you now? And considering what has developed here. As Brother Jolly particularly one time, that you remember the time that he said, you want to watch these little bitty words. They're very, very important in the Bible. And he gave us that, these 2-letter words. He said, 13 words. If it is to be, it is up to us to do it. That's a whole sentence. There's 13 words, but only 2 letters. And I began to think more recently than ever before in all of my Christian experience about the tremendous import and value of some of these little bitty words. I don't know whether you know this or not, but 50,000 times in the Bible the conjunction and. and 4,000 times B-U-T, 1,500 times if. Looks like that A-N-D means that it's a progressive movement. You talk about preparation, and. The addition table of 2 Peter, the 1st chapter, add to your faith virtue, knowledge, and. And so it's, we know that.